Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the market close for December 11th. We're slowly trudging our way through December as we're heading for the grand finale. We got a green market today. Thank the banana bread gods. We got a green market. It's really good to see green for a change. We've had a pretty volatile month thus far. We're going to look at all of that in just a second. I do want to add the normal offer for a Friday stream is, of course, available. So if we get 4 supers before the end of this stream, we will definitely do a Friday market close. All right, let's get the road or get the show going. maybe get the show on the road. That would be kind of cool. All right, let's bring up the TSX. I decided to stick with the square. I'm like, it's just easier. It's easier. It's a one-click move. Over here on the TSX, as you can see, we do have a green market. Now, this blue line, this is where we entered the month. So we have just pushed up above. So right now we are in a green month territory. But you can see this week, oh my, look at this. We really crashed hard this week. So that means hopefully a few of you found a few dips that you found nice. So, definitely hit me up in the chat. Let me know what you found. I'm curious for sure. So we do have the TSX looking green today. The S&P 500 is right over here. Now they're doing a lot better. They're quite a ways above that blue line. We added a blue line this month so that we can track the S&P 500. This is where they opened. And they're doing well. They're doing well for now. The NASDAQ, we don't have a line, but the NASDAQ is doing well. The NASDAQ is definitely in green territory. There is no doubt whatsoever. So it's looking good. This is also a good week for a ChatGPT. And the reason for that is they have their 12 days of open AI, and they're releasing new stuff constantly. In fact, guys, when we get that first super today, I have a new goat. I made it on Sora, which is, of course, the new text to video creator over there on ChatGPT. Well, technically Sora is its own little thing. So I did it. We got ourselves a goat. I don't know if this is our final goat. Probably not. It didn't do exactly what I wanted to, but for now we do have a goat. So we'll definitely see that probably sometime today. I hope. All right. The Dow Jones, they are in, oh boy, look at this. This is like a ski slope from hell. Holy cow. I mean, they're plunging. But there's a lot of uncertainty going on, especially in the US, as they had inflation numbers come out today. And inflation creeped up a tiny bit, just a tiny bit, but it's enough that, it'll freak out investors. It'll freak out investors for sure. Of course, up here in Canada, we'll talk a little bit more about this after the bell. We had the Bank of Canada meeting, and we got another supersized rate cut, another 50 basis points. Now, if we had not had those unemployment numbers being as bad as they were on Friday, we probably wouldn't have gotten a 50 basis points, but we did. We did for sure. So that is fantastic. Now, it's time to see what's going to happen. As the previous 50 and this 50 start to filter into the system, we should be seeing some real positive movements in, of course, utilities and REITs. Now, mind you, we just had the second one today. It's not going to happen immediately. It does take time to filter in, but I'm okay with them staying low for a bit because I'm stacking. I'm stacking up on my REITs at this moment. But keep in mind, I'm probably only going to run REITs up to the top. Then I will look for other opportunities, but we'll talk more about that as well. I need to take a glance at the time. Guys, the last market close, it was a disaster. It was an epic proportion disaster. It was 23 minutes late with the bell. I missed it. The chat missed it. We all missed it. It was it was the perfect storm of missage. So yeah, we're not going to miss it today. No way. Gold, by the way, is up today 0.91. Silver up 0.16. WTI looking good, up 2.88. Of course, there is more turmoil happening over in the Middle East. That may very well be giving them an assist. And if you're like, Candace, what turmoil? Syria. The stuff going on in Syria right now, there's a bit of instability there as that all gets worked out. Bitcoin having another good day. As you guys can see, it's been mostly uphill all day, back above 101,000, so not too shabby. After, and let me see here if I'm going to break this down a little bit here. I had been charting this channel right here, and normally a downward sloping channel has a good chance of breaking down. And it pretty much broke down. It didn't quite hit the target that I was expecting, but it did break down. And now we're in that recovery. So looking good for the good old Bitcoin. All right, let's hit those heat maps. Let's hit those heat maps. Here we go. This is our stock heat map. You can see we got a good amount of green in here. I don't know if Vic is here, but his favorite darling, CSU Constellation Software, up 1.93%. Alimentation Couche-Tard doing good. CP is up. Well, CN is just they're in the crapper, down 1.13. Oh boy. Banks, TD Bank looking okay today, up 0.62. What can I say? Barrick Gold looking up 2.41. So that's not too shabby. All right, looking at the United States, woo, we got some good looking stuff going on in tech. Look at this. NVIDIA up 3%. Google's up 5.14. Microsoft's up a bit. Meta's up a bit. Other than Apple's a little bit down. Even Tesla up 5.25%. So not looking too shabby. There are losers, of course, like Johnson & Johnson's down here 1.59, and United Health is down just over 5%. So, oh boy. And looking at the good old crypto, everybody's doing well today. At least all the big coins are. You got Bitcoin up about 5%, Ethereum up just over 5%, XRP back up again, up 2%, Solana having a really good day, up 7%, even Dogecoin is up. But there are a lot of crap coins out there, and I like to highlight at least one every show. As you guys know, there's about 15,000 crap coins out there. I like to grab one that I've never seen before, and I guess oh boy, this one here, Validity. What is it? What type of validity? What is it bringing validity to? I don't know. It's worth, well, it is worth 0.88 of a dollar. So it's actually worth 88 cents. So that's, at least it's worth a little bit of something, but I have no idea what this one does. Any of you guys know what it does? Throw it in the chat. I doubt it. Guys, stay away from the crap coins. Seriously. I would actually feel safer with you in penny stocks than in some of these coins. But I am still pretty pro crypto. I like the big coins. I like my Bitcoins. I like the Ethereum. I like the XRP, the Solana, even the Chainlink and the Polkadot. Look at Polkadot. They're up 7.83%. Oh boy. All right. We got about 6 minutes to the bell. I'm paying attention to the bell today. We are not going to miss the bell. We're not going to miss the bell under any circumstances. I'm just going to bring this over here because I know you guys are going to send me over here eventually, probably sooner than later, as we hit up the chat. Oh boy, you guys have been busy. We have Stan in there with a good day all. And Larry says the prophecy is fulfilled. Uh-oh. That sounds ominous. What prophecy? I'm looking out the window. No. There's no cats and dogs falling. No frogs. Oh boy. Roku says, happy foggy Wednesday, everyone. Yeah, it's pretty foggy out there. And we had ice fog yesterday. I don't think it's ice fog anymore, but yeah, good old fog. Mario says, good afternoon. Let's see. REITs didn't go up after the rate cuts today. No, it takes a bit of time. It does take some time, but I'm still bullish on them. Oh, excuse me, a little bit of gas. Roku says, I just spent my divs during the dip. Well, you know what? Doesn't hurt. Doesn't hurt. Kevin Kaz is in the house with a good afternoon, gang. And let's see, Anchor Tours. I looked at RMAX and ZRE and couldn't help but notice that those ETFs dropped in value after the last rate cut on 10/23. Yeah, but I think that whole sector was going down at that time. Also, I think with RMAX, if I remember correctly, they also in that drop had their ex-dividend day, which didn't help either because they will drop usually big time on ex-dividend day because they've got a pretty hefty looking dividend there. Jersky says, good afternoon. I picked up some CNR, RioCan, and UTES today. Nice. GLCC, good time to buy. That's a good question. I have to check and see if I got the time to get over there quickly. Let's see where GLCC is doing, how they're doing today. So, of course, this is your Global X Gold Producer ETF. And I do, oh boy, look at this. It's climbed a little bit today, but let's call out the 1 year. Gold has been doing well this year. And so has this ETF. As far as I'm concerned, this is a good ETF to buy most of the time. Gold is going to be, I think gold's going to be steady. And as long as there's a lot of uncertainty in the air, gold tends to be a go-to for investors. For when is the perfect time to buy with something like this? To me, this is one that's probably a DCA is going to be your safest bet for sure. So dollar cost average into it. All right. Here comes Larry letting us know if the world is going to end. Let's see. Another one of my long-term companies, RNW Renew Energy in India, is getting bought out. The third company this year, Tricon in Canada, sold to Blackstone, and Avance liquidation. Okay. All right. Well, that's a prophecy that that I don't have to worry about so much. But fantastic. Sounds like you keep finding these really good opportunities, Larry. I like it. I like it a lot. All right. Checking that time again. Anchor says neither responded positively up today. So how much influence is the rate cuts going to influence the market price? And it takes time. So you have to look at the fact that what's happening is when the rate cuts, it's cut at the Bank of Canada. The next step is the banks. The banks all have to cut their rates. So that doesn't always happen same day. Usually within a couple of days, all of the banks get caught up. And let's just say, for example, if the majority of your mortgages are already paid, then you're not even going to get any impact or any savings for maybe a month down the road. So there is a time lag when we look at this. So right now, they're, from the last rate cut, they are paying less interest. And with this one, they will be paying much less interest, especially as we get into January. But yeah, like I said, I've seen this before. I'm not really concerned. I'm not concerned at all. Missy says, hello, Candace. Hi. And Niece is in the house. Hey, hope's all doing great. Paul says, hello. MSTR and Tesla Green Days. Yeah, you got to love it. You got to love it. MicroStrategy and Tesla both doing their things. And JJ earlier today posted over on the Discord that those single company yield ETFs, apparently there's a bunch more that are in the wings that have been at least applied for. So hopefully we see that. One of them is a MicroStrategy. So that could be really, really, really interesting for sure. Amrit says, with the rate cuts, I'm thinking utilities would be a good thing to purchase right now. Yeah, utilities also do really well. And now that we've got a couple of big size ones, this is going to help the communication sector. It's gonna take a while to filter into them, but it is good for them because they are carrying a whole bunch of debt. All right, guys, the bell is coming up in about 15 seconds. So, if you're sensitive to noises, this is the time to take out your earbuds. That way there, I don't accidentally leave a ringing beyond the bell on you. So here we go, guys. It is on time. Woo! I I love it. I love it. We're exactly on time. It makes up. It half makes up for being 23 minutes late last time. Oh boy. Let's see. A nice dip in Fortis. Yes. Yes. Um yeah, and Fortis is one of my favorite stocks. Actually, Fortis is the first stock that I have ever bought. So that is absolutely fantastic. I'm great with that. I'm great with that. A good dip in Fortis. Yeah. Now, another thing I thought was kind of interesting too is I was watching the Canadian dollar today just to see if there'd be any reaction to the rate cut. And so far, not. But once again, this all filters in. Hopefully, it'd be nice to not have the dollar do too much dropping. But with the rate cut, the Bank of Canada did signal that they're looking at smaller rate cuts going forward. So this may be the last of our big ones. But if you're planning to renew your mortgage, let's say your renewal is coming up early in 2025, this is really good news for you. This is definitely will help you get a better rate. Let's see. Paul says, how long do these new ETF applications take? So the 3iQ QSOL Solana ETF was announced in June, but nothing released yet. It depends. It really depends. It depends on, number one, how many applications they have to sort through. Some of them, depending on what they are more cookie cutter. Some of them tend to, the regulators need to go through a bit more. So I can't really give you a general idea, but generally, if it's going to get approved, it usually happens within a year at the latest, sometimes faster, hopefully faster. I'd certainly love to see some of these ones come out sooner than later. So that's for sure. But what can I say? What can I say? Yeah. And there was, what was there? There was MicroStrategy, and I think there's going to be a new Tesla one. Well, actually, let's go take a look. Let's take a look. We have it right here, the Discord. Let's see here. Here they are. So these are the Harvest High Income Shares. Can I pull this up to make it bigger? So they're looking at coming out with their own MicroStrategy. They're going to call it MSTY as well. So it'll be the Canadian MSTY. Coinbase, so Coiny, Palantir, PLTE, Tesla, TSLY. Meta is going to be, I guess, METI. And HHIS. Which one is that? I'm not sure which one that is. Somebody tell me. HHIS. I don't know. Let's see. Tim Smith says, I just went heavy on Global X ENCL, betting hard on Canadian oil and gas moving forward. Yeah, I think energy. Right now, we're in a situation where we've got, the market's saturated. So that's one of the reasons that we're not seeing we're not seeing as much upward movement as I would like to. Sorry. I'm answering a question. I have this habit of reading the next question as I'm doing this, but I like the next answer here. I'll get back to you in a second, Tim. So HHIS is all of them. Ooh. That is interesting. That is really, really interesting. Oh my, oh my. But yeah, back to the oil. If this winter turns out to be rougher than normal, and we're talking world winter, we're not really talking just, just Canada or the United States, mostly Europe. If we had a really cold winter in Europe, that could certainly help us get through some of that glut. And of course, we also have China. They're currently kind of over. Oh, excuse me. They are kind of a little bit oversaturated as well. So what can I say? But long term, I think right now we're in a good buying position. And I think long term, oh my gosh, I get this tickle. Excuse me. Oh God, that was fun. Oh boy. All right. One more second, guys. Okay. Oh boy. Yeah. Every so often, I still get a tickle back after that whole flu thing. So, yep, that was never good. God. All right, go away, tickle. Go away, tickle. The worst place you can get a tickle is when you're doing a stream. Okay, and Paul says as long as these new ETFs also have a .u for USD funds, oh, excuse me. Oh, but the real USA ones might have lower fees. One more second, guys. Okay. Whew. Yeah, that is a possibility as well that you may, and we'll have to wait till we see what the fee structure is going to look on that. But it is nice to have these Canadian versions as well. And keep in mind, the MSTY for this one, it'll be covered call, and there'll be a leveraged version. They will not be a synthetic covered call. So it could be very, very interesting. I think it's going to be good. I'm probably going to grab some. I probably will grab some as soon as we get it up. As soon as we get it up, for sure. Tim says a lot of things like blockchain, Bitcoin, AI will need energy to power them, especially in the US and Europe. I think a lot will come from Canadian oil and gas over the next 100 years. Yeah, AI is a huge, huge energy hog. It needs a lot of energy. So that is definitely something we're going to be seeing over the next, I would say a lot sooner than 100 years. This is also the same reason that I'm very bullish on nuclear, because I see it as being a huge, huge thing. All right. Now, oh, oh God. I'm going to bring JJ in here in just a second. Let's actually pull him in. Hey, JJ, how are you doing? I have to.
Hey, Candace.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you, and I can also, just a second
Hear
here.
the echo, huh?
There we go. It should be gone. It should be gone. I think I fixed it.
Yeah, I don't think
It's
there's
like
an
I
echo
know
anymore.
exactly where it is the second a second it happens. How you doing?
I was doing okay this morning, but right now I feel a little bit of a sniffly of coming up.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. That flu, it was just absolutely nasty. It was bad. It was bad. So I'm hoping you didn't catch the same thing.
I'm not sure really, because I feel like it's very easy for me to get sick, especially during this time. And I was talking to my coworkers earlier today, and one or two of them are feeling the same thing. They're like in different levels of feeling chills, slight headaches, slight migraines here and there. So I think we're all pretty much in the same batch. It doesn't really help that we're all working in like a pretty tight vicinity. So we're pretty much infecting each other in a sense. Like we're all pretty much incubators for viruses. So that's one way to put it, pretty much.
Yeah, that's what happens. Yeah, if you're working closely, it's like it'll go around like a almost like you can almost. I remember in the call centers when I used to work in there,
Mm-hmm.
you could sort of watch how one row would be all coughing, and then the next row, and then the next row. It sort of was almost like a set of dominoes, though not quite as fun as real dominoes because all being sick and everything.
Yeah, for sure. And I was just gonna say, like, this StreamYard looks way better, especially if we're on the guest side, because I can actually see the entire screen and everything. And there's also way more personalization and controls that we can actually tweak. Because with Ecamm, I didn't really have many like microphone settings, so I think the twice I was on the live with
Mhm.
Ecamm, it was switching to my default laptop mic.
Yeah.
And there was also like there was like an echo, so like there wasn't the echo cancellation feedback. So It's just me. Like StreamYard, that definitely looks better, at least on my interface for
Mhm.
sure.
Excuse me, guys.
Oh, do you still have the minimum the trace levels of flu left?
Very trace. It's like yeah, I haven't coughed in like 2 days, and then I just get a tickle in just before you came on.
Hmm.
I had to mute for a second because I was just like, "What the banana bread is this?"
Oh,
But
damn. Okay.
yeah, yeah, it's never fun. Burgers mentioned they picked up a lot of Intel at 19.99 today. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. All right, and Tim is. We were talking a little bit here just before you came on. We're talking about energy
Hmm.
and AI. Excuse me. Tim is saying I'm not against nuclear, but seems like a strange resistance to it from most countries. Yeah, what is up with people's resistance to nuclear? I think it's had a lot of bad promotions, and plus, when something does go wrong nuclear, it can go wrong in very dramatic ways. Look at Chernobyl, Fukushima. So,
Mm,
I mean, the big thing is, and this is what I say about nuclear, is build it where it's not going to get destroyed. Don't build it on a fault line. Don't build it in some place where tsunamis are known to happen. And there are new technologies in regards to nuclear. There was this, there's some kind of new Chinese, and I'm trying to remember what it was. I think it was some kind of copper type cooling system that, it's pretty much stable. You can't get into a situation where you would have a leak with it. It's that good. So I think nuclear is definitely the way to go for clean
hmm.
energy. Now, mind you, and this is kind of where Tim is coming in. Um, Even for us to get all of the nuclear in place to be able to meet all of the needs, and the needs are exploding, um, it's going to take a long time. It's going to take a very long time. So, oil, gas, its day is not done yet. Its day is we're going to be using it for a long time. I think it will eventually peter out as we get more of these other technologies in. But for now, it's still going to be big, the big energy on the block.
Yeah, I think for now, at least for a couple of decades, oil and energy are still the go-to primary source of resources
Hmm.
for for energy. And honestly, like the long run, at least for a couple of decades, it would stay the same. So I mean, right now in the short term, I feel like oil and energy prices are definitely a little bit in jeopardy just because of the Trump tariffs. But I think for the most part, these are pretty minor dips in the long run. Just looking at the long term, I would
Hmm.
say like these minor dips are great pickup days. Like really, just look at Ian sale today. Like just because it dipped like what 2%,
Hmm.
like it went down. I think the lowest price in this past week was around the $19 range, which honestly, if you average it out, the yield it's approximately 17.5%.
Hmm.
And honestly, in the grand scheme of things, having that great yield, like it's a sale day,
Yeah.
at least for the next decade or so. Like it's gonna do well for quite a while, at least until nuclear finds its footing.
Hmm. Well, yeah, absolutely. And Missy's saying they're actually building a big data center in Alberta near Grand Prairie. Mr. Wonderful is a partner, perhaps. Yeah, they're going to be. I mean, big data centers are going to be the way of the future. I mean, AI needs them. Um, I won't even go beyond AI. Right now, AI is pretty much demanding everything. Have you had a chance to play with Sora yet?
No, I haven't. I think it came out 2 days ago. Huh? Have you?
I have. I have. All
Okay.
right. I was gonna wait for a super, but I'll show you guys. I'll show you guys. This is what I made. This is my first attempt at a goat in Sora. So let's uh, let's let's take a look here. So this here entirely made
Whoa. Okay.
from AI. I wanted the goat to open the box and then have a bunch of gold light coming out into its face, but that's it. It kind of just did its own little thing. But I liked it. I liked it nonetheless. All right,
I think the background's a little too shiny, but other than that, it looks pretty
maybe,
cool.
but quite
Like
literally.
there's very high there's very large reflection points, at least between the gold box and the background. So maybe that's like a fine point to tweak. But overall, it looks pretty cool.
Yeah,
Like it looks
absolutely. Um, and I mean, the first attempt I made is before that, I actually tried to have a royal beaver knighting a goat.
okay.
Um, it didn't go as well as I had hoped. It didn't go as well as I had hoped. I didn't upload that one, unfortunately, to play that one, but I'm still gonna play until I find the perfect one. But for now, I at least have something in case, that we can pull up. So, that's not too shabby. Let's see here. Paul is saying sold covered call MicroStrategy $600 December 27th. Wealthsimple shows a value of the contract. If you wanted to buy them back, but Wealthsimple seems to take this value off your account value, Binance, our balance is really higher. Oh, interesting. Yeah, and I've never played with strategy with options within Wealthsimple. Now you're doing margin in Wealthsimple, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
And how's
And
that going? How explain how the
honestly,
experience?
honestly, it's still in beta, so some of the numbers are not like projected properly. Like I still have to, because right now most of the the portfolio values aren't very changing. Like
Mhm.
there's no with at least with international brokers, which is actually much better for margin trading. You have an option, whereas you can pick and choose. Like when every time you buy something, like as when in margin accounts, you have a section where you have your own money in one pool, and then you have the broker's
Mhm.
margin in another set. So at least with IBKR, the way I did it before is that you at least have that option where you can choose whether you actually want to buy something on, like you actually want to borrow money to buy a particular stock or ticker. So at least there's way more. It's way more optimized, and you can actually see like that, like on a daily basis, how much margin if you wanted to pick on a certain stock. So you have
Mhm.
all those holdings. Right now with Wealthsimple, at least for right now for both the app and the website, there's not much that's being shown. All that's shown right now is the total value I've put in at the beginning and how much I've basically allocated towards it. Because right now
Okay.
I've basically moved around a couple of things in my non-register account and then moved it over to margin. And then so it basically shows the maximum buying power that I would have, which based on my contributions, it's actually so you can borrow basically up to 300x. So that becomes that 30%, that's like the default 30% margin call. So you can
Mhm.
borrow so you can do 1 in 3 basically. So there's that. And then every time you put money into it, the margin allocation that you're allowed to use pretty
Mhm.
much changes. But it's really funny in a way that because right now, because I have Wealthsimple Premium, so I have
Mhm.
both U.S. dollars and Canadian. I have both USD and Canadian set, but then it won't it won't auto convert. So essentially, if you have your money, so it's when you move your money, um, so when you move your money between the different accounts in Canadian, it will stay in that Canadian. So if you want to buy something in the other currency, it will borrow off a margin first, and you don't have that option to choose whether you
Okay.
actually want to borrow or use your own money that's converted.
Right.
So it will basically you can't really set the amount of margin you want to borrow for each amount that you want to purchase. So it will basically either um so if you're buying something in the same currency where your money is, it will basically take all of your money first and then borrow the rest if you run out. And you can't
Oh,
really tweak that. So that's why it's still in that beta phase where it's still
yeah.
pretty it's not
So
the
hopefully,
best, but it
hopefully they get
does
this off.
it does what it needs to do. So hopefully that changes right now because I'm a
Mhm.
little bit iffy of how well my account standing is doing. But looking at the prices of where the tickers I've actually bought, they seem to be doing okay. So there's
Okay.
that. But I still have about $5,000 5,000 USD that there's at least some room to play with
Mhm.
if my holdings drop significantly. So there's that.
Okay,
So yeah, it's still in its experimental phase, basically, for the most part.
okay. Well, hopefully they get some of these things worked out before it goes live for the public.
Yeah, there's that. And you're basically using your TFSA / RSP, whatever account you have the maximum as collateral in case something happens. So there's that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. HHL. What's going on with HHL?
It's a long-winded answer, but it's still in this beta phase.
Yeah. No, I was talking about the Harvest Healthcare Leaders Income ETF. So they are down a little bit. Jay is
Ooh.
wanting to know if China put tariffs on medicine. Not that I've heard of. I haven't heard of that, but I know that China has been. Most of the tariffs I've been hearing about, though, are more electronic. Basically critical minerals, things like that. I have not heard of anything about, about medicine per se. But yeah, this one is down quite a bit considering they were up at about 892 not that long ago. When was that? The summer. So yeah, they have definitely suffered. I'm not sure what's going on with that one per se, Jay. I'd have to look more into it. So the answer is I don't know what's going on with it. All right. Jonathan says, I've been trying to buy Google the last couple of days. I put the order in at night, and then the next morning the price jumps a few percent over my limit. Oh, yeah, that happens. Yeah, there's times too, like I use limit orders a fair amount. Where the price comes down, it hits my limit. I think I got it. And so I'm sitting there waiting for the sell, and then I go to sell and I realize it didn't pick it up. And I'm like, no, it's still there. That's never fun when that happens. And Missy's saying that we should have the beaver come out instead of the gold. So have a beaver in the box.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, we can play with it. We can definitely play with it. Let's see. Paul says selling covered calls with Wealthsimple is in beta also. It probably could show more. Yeah. And that's the thing. I always say, give me more buttons than not enough. Because,
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm one of the types, I like to see all of the bells and whistles and know what's going on behind. And the more control I can have, the better. Paul says, and for the covered call beta, you have to sign up. Okay.
I would say if you're just doing regular purchases on Wealthsimple and you're just using your own money with no leverage, nothing, honestly, the current platform for Wealthsimple is fine as it is. But as soon as you're adding complications like using margin, doing your own puts, doing your own calls, you need all of those technicalities, because right now you're kind of like trading blind in a sense. So you're basically not at your capacity to fully utilize what they're offering, and you're basically operating at a disadvantage. So at the moment, while it's still in beta, IBKR is still the better option.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's going to take them a while of refinement. I mean, I imagine this is what I do like about Wealthsimple. You give something brand new like margin or even covered calls at this point. You give them a couple of years and it's going to look a lot better, because they are always trying to create improvements. And I like that. And part of it, I think, is they're small. When you compare them to a lot of bigger brokers, that size is what gives them that agility so that they can create things faster. But mind you, the downside to that is as they get more popular, they're going to slow down eventually. So that will, of course, happen down the road. But for now, at least it's a way for people to get their fingers wet, or get their toes in the door per se. But I still say, especially with the margin, I still say be careful. Don't just walk into that and play with it like it's a game, because you can get wrecked. You can get absolutely wrecked in margin. If you're using covered calls without margin, you could still lose money, of course, but you don't have that as high of a wreckage probability per se.
I didn't realize that Wealthsimple didn't actually convert my Canadian dollars to US dollars when I was buying Coney. So Yieldmax's Coney. So that is actually on margin. So I'm a little freaked out about that. So that was the first thing I bought because I
Yeah.
assumed that it would use basically I transferred approximately 10,000 Canadian dollars from my non-register to my margin account. And so while it was sitting in Canadian dollars, I was trying to buy in USD, right? Because the Yieldmax Coney is traded in US dollars.
Mhm.
So I assumed that it would take the money first because I was playing around with some of the Canadian holdings, and then it would basically use all of your current allocation first before borrowing our margin. So that didn't happen. And so I bought that basically 3 days ago when it was trading around the $18, $20 range. And it's been fluctuating a lot. So I'm freaking out a little bit. So I took some, so today, like this morning, it was trading around the 1680, 1690 range. I decided I add a bit more. So to at least decrease that margin call potential. So yeah, so there's that. So be careful if you're playing on margin. At least, yeah, it was not too bad, but still, I was freaked out a little bit. Ugh.
Yeah. And Paul sold a covered call yesterday. Let's see. He said I sold yesterday was $453 per contract. The buyer could have sold those contracts today for $790. Interesting. Yeah. I mean,
So I was looking up the news in terms of the healthcare sector, and there were no particular recent changes to explain the price drop in the last week. However, based on Perplexity's analysis, take it with a grain of salt, but it's saying that it has underperformed compared to certain other sectors, such as technology in general, healthcare, technology, utilities, the other utility companies in general, and that the S&P 500 healthcare index has shown weaker performance relative to the broader S&P index,
well, even
gaining
UNH.
performing only like 7% compared to the rest of the indexes 12.7% gain. So there's probably that. So I wouldn't worry too much about this minor price gap because most of these healthcare companies, they show pretty promising like reports and earnings and standings for a reason. So I would honestly take these minor dips as buying moments, especially since Harvest is really good at Harvest has been a solid performer in picking their companies for their top performing ETFs, especially in healthcare.
And also keep in mind too, a lot of health companies have experienced a bit of a downtrend too, just because of some of that uncertainty built around RFK Jr.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So that's, there's a lot of factors that could be playing in there. I don't think it's China though. That was kind of where I was going with that. So don't think we have China to blame, unfortunately.
Not this time.
No, not this time. So did you see that tweet that
which one
had there calling Trudeau Governor Trudeau?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was amusing. It's like, how long is it going to take to get under Trudeau's skin?
Apparently he has very tough skin for the most part, so it might take some more. It might take some more.
Well, he is probably used to a lot of people heckling him to death. That's for sure. I've seen a few of his outdoor performances where people have spoke their minds per se. So it's interesting. It's interesting. Now we did have. Just since we brought up politics, we did have a vote of non-confidence. Was it the day before yesterday?
I think so, yeah.
One of the interesting things, and I don't know if the news actually reported on it, I only know because I was watching it, is one of the NDP actually did stand up in favor of the vote of non-confidence. Just one. So I thought that was very, very interesting. And one of the chatters actually, one of our chatters was mentioning as well that it could very well be that that the whole reason that that one person stood up is that they had a riding that was really, really anti-Trudeau, and that would go over well to help them in the next election type thing. And that
Mm-hmm.
might have been something that Jagmeet had said, okay, yeah, you can do it. But I haven't heard anything else about it. I don't know if you followed anything in that area at all, but I thought it was interesting. I thought it was very interesting.
There hasn't been much since that Monday's vote of non-confidence,
Hmm.
so there's that. Uh, However, Singh did say, um, I guess Singh, for the most part, dismissed the conservative motion as "quote unquote" playing games,
Hmm.
and basically refused to support Poilievre's attempt to bring down the government. So I guess he's kind of sitting on the fence still. Like he's not really pro or anti anybody right now, and he's basically like sitting right in the middle for the most
Yeah,
part.
that makes, yeah. I mean, it's interesting too. I mean, I actually thought it was. I was kind of amused by the fact that Polyev basically worded the entire thing using pretty much Jagmeet's quotes, and I thought that was actually kind of funny. But nonetheless, I still think I think we will see a successful vote of non-confidence in the spring. But I don't think any time before then. No, that's kind of where I'm looking at spring election. And if, although I mean, there's always the chance, though. I mean, but here's the thing. I mean, the NDP has to try to distance themselves from the Liberals at some point, so they can't
They
keep
have
on
to, yeah.
siding with them. That's why I think spring. At that point, they'll do it. But yeah, and of course, as Paul is saying, Jagmeet is protecting his pension. That could be. That could be. I mean, I'll admit if I was in his position and it's like, oh, if we don't have an election to the spring and I lose my seat, at least I'll have my pension. Uh,
Hmm.
I could see that. I could see that influencing me a little bit. You know, I'm
You
not
think
going to
he'll?
lie and say no, no, no. I would be very, very honest in that, but I would also be honest and say, yeah, that's the reason. Sure. But yeah, but that's also why I probably would never get elected because I would, you know, I wouldn't play the political games per se.
I don't think you'll play it correctly.
Not
there's
really, not
way
really.
there's way too many games being played here, especially in the dark side. Ugh.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
But you think Singh will pull his plug right at the last moment and switch to the other side right before the election?
Mhm. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I actually ran model parliament. I did do model parliament in high school,
Oh,
and
okay.
I ran for the Conservatives. I was the party whip, only because this is kind of what I did at that point. I was just like, okay, who's the most popular person in school? And it happened to be this guy by the name of Ed. I said, okay, let's get Ed to participate in model parliament. Let's make him our leader because he'll get the votes. So that was what we did. So he was kind of he was running. You know, when we ran on a whole bunch of crazy platforms because you know high school. What can you say?
Hmm.
Um, we
The
had
crazy
we
times.
won an overwhelming majority. If you actually calculated the seats, we there wouldn't have been very many Liberals and NDP in there. But of course, they had to let everybody participate, so they got more seats than they should have had. But then we did our parliament, and that was actually fun. There was a lot of really good heckling in there, and I will admit, I did one bad heckling that this poor girl. She was the leader of the NDP.
Hmm.
So she stood up and she was saying, "I want to legalize prostitution." And
Oh, okay.
when she said that, I just yelled across the room, "Why do you want your old job back?" And the
Oh my
girl,
god.
the rest of high
Oh
school,
my god.
people randomly came up to her and asked her if she got her old job back. I also became her least favorite
Whoa,
person. I was
okay.
just like, after I said it, I'm like, uh-oh, I probably shouldn't have said that. But it was just, you know, I got one of them quirky minds. I can think of funny things really fast. So it was just like
Wow. Okay.
it was just that it was just almost like a joke gag reflex. Just there it is. And, yeah. So anyway, but it was fun. It was actually pretty fun. I enjoyed it. But that's as close as I'll ever get to real politics. I'll report on politics, but I wouldn't want to get actually in the house, I don't think. All right, Paul
That's
says,
crazy.
what was that?
That's crazy.
Oh, I know, I know. Paul says, yes, selling covered call requires no money, but the money making it buying the call and then selling for more. I have been buying more shares with the covered calls. Okay, okay. Yeah, I mean, and I've been watching what Paul's been doing, and he's doing pretty darn good. He's doing pretty darn good. Oh, guys, we got Bleak in the house. Hello, Bleak. How
Whoop.
are you? And Misty says, we were allowed to say things like that back in the day. Yes. Yes, yes. I imagine if somebody said something like that today in a
Uh-uh.
school,
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
they probably get expelled for it.
They would face massive repercussions right there, then and there.
Yes,
Oh god.
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
it would be reported to the entire internet, and you would get canceled so hard.
Yeah, yeah,
Can you imagine?
yeah. Well, that was the thing. But I was a little bit of a of a crap disturber in university. I'm not in university, but in high school, a little bit, just because you know I
Okay.
had I had a little bit of fun. I had a little bit of fun. Yeah,
So what tamed you down when you went to university since you were so
it's too
wild in high
busy.
school?
I was too busy. Um,
Okay.
yeah, in high school, basically in high school, I didn't have to do anything to get top marks. Like quite literally, it was really, really easy. And most of the time I was bored because, they teach sort of towards the lowest common denominator. So, but then when you get to university, it's a different story. It's like, oh, I actually have to work now. So there wasn't that much. Probably, and the funny thing is some of the adventures I had in university was I accidentally went to the wrong class once. I went in, I sat down, I realized I was in the wrong class, but it was a quantum mechanics class, and the professor started talking, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is so interesting." So I stayed. Uh,
Oh,
you
okay.
know, and this was when I was in first year, and this was like I think a third year class. But I just stayed and I soaked up the whole thing. I was like, "Oh my god, that's fascinating. I love that." So but yeah, that was pretty much the most trouble I got into in university. There just wasn't any time at all, but yeah, there was no time. What can I
Yeah, especially
say?
since you did a double especially since you did a double major with chemistry and
Yeah,
biology,
biology
right?
and chemistry. So yeah, that's absolutely. Um, and I mean, second year was probably my busiest year because, like I said, I was taking 5 sciences. I had 5 labs. Um,
Oof. That's rough.
yeah, it was every day was a lab. Um, but and plus the fact that they were all completely different. So it's like, what can you do? Um, but I didn't mind it. I didn't mind it that much. I mean, it was, I, it was all learning. It was fun, all that fun stuff. I just wasn't very, I'm like, quite literally. I know first year is when I still was doing physics stuff as well.
Mhm.
Um, I know my calculus professor for that year, he would give basically his homework. He gave a homework assignment every single day for marks, and it would take bare minimum an hour to do it. And
Whoa,
I was
okay.
just, and at that time, I was still living with my mom, and it was basically a 2-hour trip home because it was a 1-hour bus ride. And my mom lived far out enough out in the country. After I got off the bus, I had to walk an hour. So
Mhm.
it was like I had no time. By second year, I moved a little bit closer on the bus route, and then by third year, I was living in the city. I was living in Halifax. It was like there was just like yeah, I need the time. I just need the time. There's no way you could do it with all of that travel, especially if you're like me. I can't read on a bus because I'll get car sick.
Oh, same.
I
Yeah, I
yeah,
can't
I
either.
couldn't I couldn't even like
It's
I couldn't study or anything on the bus.
mm-mm.
So yeah, it was craziness, but yeah, at least it's done. At least it's done.
Yeah, yeah.
Michael wants to know what's wrong with Pfeiffer. What's wrong with all of them, Michael? We're in a situation where I think the whole sector is suffering a little bit. Pfeiffer definitely is in there as well. I mean, heck, let's take a look. PFE. And I do like Pfeiffer long term. Where they are. There they are. Pfeiffer.
Pfeiffer? Pfizer, you mean?
Sorry, yeah, Pfizer. Pfeiffer.
I'm like, wait, what is Pfeiffer? I'm not familiar with this.
I meant Pfizer. Pfizer. Holy banana bread. Words are not my friend. Words are not my friend.
It's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
you've gone through so many financial blockbuses every day.
Yeah.
You get a pass for this.
Oh my God, yeah. It's turning into a very busy month, but that's fine. I knew I was prepared. I was prepared. I'm just really glad that the worst of the flu happened in November. Because if that had hit me in the middle of this, I would have been like, no. But yeah, I mean, look at this. I mean, kind of the same thing as that ETF we were looking at HHL. You got that same movement down. They've been getting it. They've been hit for a while. There's just a lot of uncertainty, Michael. Well, for one, you've got RFK Jr., who is going off all kinds.
Isn't he doing like a 50% reduction on basically grant allocation to healthcare, like healthcare in general?
Well, I haven't heard
the largest pharmaceutical companies are all in the gutter basically because of these implications.
Oh no, there's going to be. I mean, this is the whole thing.
Massive reductions.
And you take, all of the things that DOGE is going to be, the Department of Government Efficiency is going to be recommending. It could be a rough time. It may, and I hate to say this, it may be a rough 4 years for a company like Pfeiffer. It might just get that bad. I don't know. That's the problem. Until we actually get the new government behind the wheel, and we find out, whether they're going to do what they've been saying, or whether they're going to realize, okay, things are not working as easily as we thought. That's absolutely going to be very, very interesting.
I mean, just look at Moderna is the same trend, and they are both of them. Well, at least I think Pfeiffer is at least in HHL. Moderna is not, just because I think Moderna is just performing worse. If you want to look at that stock chart as well, I think it's actually doing worse than Pfeiffer.
All right. Ron says Rigetti Computing is up 385 in the last month. Quantum computing stocks are on fire. Yes. Did you see that article yesterday from Google? Was it Google? I think it was Google. The that new chip. There's a new quantum chip that they were talking about. I'm trying to remember the name of it. What's that?
Oh.
Well, I thought you had the name.
I didn't hear about this.
Yeah, they mentioned it yesterday. I think it was by Google. For some reason, I think it starts with a V, but I'm not sure. This chip, though, it's actually using qubits. So they were talking about it and how it is going to be. It's going to be a crazy. Willow. There we go. TZ just threw it up. It's Willow's the name of the chip. So I was watching this, and they're talking, and it apparently has qubits in it. Now, if you know anything about computers, normally chips are using basically a binary system. So they're using bits, meaning that it's a 1 or a 0. So basically, you've got a circuit that's either on or off. That's the only options. And so everything is done step by step. You can't do things you can't do multiple things at once. But with a chip like Willow, where you've got qubits, it basically allows you to have multiple states. So you can be on, you can be off, or you can be both. It's kind of, it gives you that whole quantum ability. So it kind of mimics quantum mechanics and the microscopic world. And that all of a sudden creates computational power that can work where it runs all of the solutions at the same time. It's not just doing one. And this is a huge thing. Now, this chip is just, they introduced it yesterday. I'd love to see it in action, but this could change a lot of stuff it could be the beginning of a quantum revolution. So I'm like, and I'm also thinking, marry quantum chips with AI and holy banana bread. That could be very, very interesting. It could also be very, very dangerous too, but nonetheless, if it's dangerous, it'll still be an interesting form of dangerous. So, but yeah, for sure. Tom is in
He's
here.
very
Hi,
interesting.
Candace, and my competitor JJ. So why is Tom your competitor, JJ? What's going
It's an
on?
inside. It's an inside joke, basically.
Oh, okay. We'll leave that. We'll leave that then.
Yeah,
Michael says, what about Pfizer? And I step away from a minute.
it's
Um,
Pfeiffer. Okay, that's its new name. Wait, let's stick to Pfeiffer.
we'll say, yeah, Pfeiffer. What about Pfeiffer? What about Pfizer? Yeah, no, we just mentioned that right now that whole sector is kind of in the dumps. Pfizer's being pulled down with it. A lot of it is what's going to happen with RFK Jr., with funding being cut, all of that fun stuff.
Hmm.
So yeah, it may be a while, Michael, but at the same time, I think on the other side of this government, it'll be fine. But I don't. I really need to see what's going to happen after January 20th to see how much of this. Like they're talking about, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. I want to actually start seeing some of this stuff and how it is going to be actually applied, and that will give us a better idea as to what we might have to think. Tom says I would never buy into a company named Pfeiffer. Yeah, probably me too. And Jonathan, great comment. Bye encryption. So yes, the way we encrypt most things today will be able to get cracked by these quantum chips very, very fast. However, however, um, a lot of people have been designing encryption keys now that are quantum proof. So they're already looking ahead, and they've already got to jump on that. So uh, I think we're going to be fine. But if you, once these actually, and keep in mind, I mean, we're talking Google, they have one chip. By the time these become mainstream, it could be 10 years. It could be, it could be 10 years. We'll just leave it at 10 years. There's enough time, I think, that most things will become quantum proof. There are ways to quantum proof chips. So, or sorry, quantum proof encryptions. I think we'll be fine. I think we'll be fine. Um, but it still doesn't hurt. Uh, what was I going to say? It really doesn't hurt though to have your mind on encryption, and when things do start changing like this, if there is a solution that is quantum proof, you probably want to switch to it sooner than later. But I think a lot of that will happen behind the scenes. You probably won't even have a choice. Your encryption will get switched over sooner than later. But nonetheless, hopefully you guys are doing some basic stuff like changing your passwords every so often. You'd be surprised how many people don't change their passwords, like ever. You'd also be surprised how many people have the password 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a lot of
Seriously?
them. There's a lot of them. Yep, yep. And the best way to have a password is to go with a password phrase. So what a phrase would be is, well, up here, let's go to Tom. So let's say this was Tom's favorite word. Hi, Candace, and my competitor, JJ. So you could turn that into a password where it could be like capital H, capital C, AM, little c, capital J, and then maybe just throw a random character at the end of it or something. It could be like an exclamation mark and then 42, because that's the answer to the life, universe, and everything. That's how you would make and that's a lot harder for somebody to crack, because it's not a sensical word. It's just using first letters. So definitely interesting. Michael says, I think RFK is going more after food companies. I think he's going after a lot of things, but as I said, Michael, let's wait. Let's wait till after January and sort of see how this all shakes out, because right now we're going on, guesses, and even like you look at things like, for example, I mean, you've got tariff and it's like, we're going to give 25% tariff across the board to Canada. unless they fix up their border. What's Canada doing? Canada's fixing up the border. Canada's, Trudeau's talking about getting some helicopters in there, and they'll do it. There's no way they're going to let that happen. A 25% tariff. Trump is very famous for, going overboard with a threat, but with his real goal underneath it. So that way there you can say, okay, you can have this huge consequence, or you can just do this little thing for me. And everybody's going to choose that little thing. So, he's playing, basically he's playing like a business person. That's the way it works in business. He's playing the game. And that's the thing. You have to sort of look at him, at least him. I'm not going to say the rest of his goonies, but you have to look at Trump and sort of say, okay, he is a businessman. That's how you treat him. I don't know enough about a lot of the people that he has selected to basically tell you how you should treat each of them. Only thing I will say is that if I ever got into a room with his new Secretary of Defense and there was an axe throwing board there, I would hide. That's all I will say. Bismarcky says, can we build a wall to keep Trump out? That's a funny thing. I mean, when you look at the Canadian border, I mean, it's massive. The border between us and the United States. And actually, the biggest part of it is actually between us and Alaska, that part of the states. But I honestly don't think Trump cares a lot about Alaska to worry about that one per se. But there's a lot of places where the only way you can tell it's the border is there's like some trees clear cutted to show where the border is in many places. There's even towns that sit on the border. I watched a video on this one town. One side of the street is in Canada. The other side of the street is in the United States. And you're thinking, well, how does somebody drive down to the store and back? And they have rules. Like if you're a Canadian, you got to drive down to the store. You can do that, but you're not allowed to get out or to stop your car when you're on the American side when you're coming back, type thing. I'm like, this is craziness. How could you let a city or a town get separated right in the middle by a border? So for me, and this is what I would say, if you really want to fix the border, one is start looking at maybe some give and takes. Like in a city like that, maybe whoever owns the most of the city, maybe just loop the border up around and give them the whole thing. And hopefully there's a few different areas. For example, well, there's an island in BC. It's just a little bit of a thing that belongs to the US. And during the pandemic, they were pretty much trapped there because they couldn't cross the border into Canada because that was the only way they could get around to get down to the United States. So there's a whole bunch of these places all along the border that, if you really want to create border security, it's almost like you might have to say, okay, well, we'll give you that part of that town, but we're going to take that island, that peninsula, all of that fun stuff. So what can you do? Yeah. Anyway, that's my border rant. It's sort of bordered on funny, maybe. I don't know, but it was a rant. Jonathan said, did Mexico ever build that wall? Well, no, Mexico didn't build it. The US, I mean, they did build some of the wall when Trump was in. And Mexico never paid for it. But yeah, there was some of the wall that was built. Let's see. Good time to invest in security drones. Maybe. There we go. Security drones. We got it.
I mean, the U.S. defense sector is always a good sector to invest in, depending on your personal ethics and morals. So there's that.
Yeah, there is that. Like I can guarantee you right now, of all of our entire community, there's a solid little chunk of people who would be like offended if they invest. I don't want to say they would be offended to invest in because they wouldn't, but their morals would not allow them to invest in even something like Palantir. There are people in here, and I know I got a big backlash once.
Really?
When I was pulling up the vote for deep dives, one of the companies, and I didn't know this at the time, it was one of the US companies that somebody threw in. I
Mhm.
threw it in to vote because I hadn't even looked at the company before, but it turned out that they made they just made munitions, munitions for war. So
Oh,
somebody actually reached out and said, "How could you do that?" I'm like, "What? Do what?" And they're like, "This company, don't you know what it is?" I said, "Not unless it gets voted through." But it turned out that there was somebody really, really offended. They told me what it did. I was like, "Okay." I apologize. I said I didn't actually look, so I look now before I put it up, so I get at least have a general idea of what I'm putting up. But and I apologize because I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. This is not one that I would, if I'd realized this, I wouldn't have put it up because, I that's one of the reasons, like, Palantir is a stock I won't deep dive them. I won't deep dive them because I know that some people will be offended by them, and, so I'm not gonna touch them with a 10-foot pole. If I'll talk about them on the stream, but, I will not deep dive them. Alright, Michael said,
interesting.
"What about CNC having support at 55, then CVS News down on another healthcare company?" Well, once again, healthcare wise, I don't think I think they're all going to be down for now. I don't see I don't see an end yet to some of the suffering that the health system is having, at least in the United States. Um, yeah, I don't see a happy ending yet. Now CNC, we'll take a look at one of these. We'll look at CNC. Why not? All right. All right, that's a Centene Corporation. All right. Yeah, and you can sort of see that downward trend. We've got it going on here. Um, and what exactly do these ones do? Government sponsored. Whoa, government sponsored health. It's so stupid ads. They load in and they go and they move the text just as I'm about to highlight. I'm like, no.
Make sure you remove them quickly.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, government sponsored healthcare plans, Medicaid, Medicare. Um, it doesn't say Obamacare, but maybe that's in there too. Who knows?
It probably is.
The kitten's over there playing with something. So if you hear a little noise in the background, that's the kitten
Definitely
having
hear it.
fun.
Yeah, definitely hear it.
Yeah, she's
It's
up in
okay.
the couch there going, she's actually attacking the window blind rope. So she's awake. She's awake. She's actually been sleeping up here all day. But she's awake now for sure. All right. Missy says, well, from what I heard, the security drones are just to protect infrastructure and borders. Yeah, it makes sense. Ideally, if you want to protect your borders, there's nothing wrong with having a fleet of drones flying over the border. They see something suspicious, radio it to the local, the closest border security, or I guess in Canada. This is interesting. The border security in Canada have specific areas that they're allowed to operate in, and they can't go outside of those areas. So even if they're in a base and they're only allowed to operate in that base or that one little area, if they see somebody going across the border, just even outside of the fence, they're not allowed to do anything. They have to call the RCMP. So it's kind of an interesting system. So in a way, I think if we really want border security up here, one, border security agents, you gotta stop handcuffing them. Let them loose. Let them do their thing. And maybe even remove that whole responsibility from the RCMP. Let them do their thing and let the get more border security agents, get some drones, all of that, and that'll be fine. The thing is with Canada, like a lot of drugs, and this is where Trump is not wrong. A lot of drugs are made in Canada and do cross down into the United States. I remember there was something. I don't know if it was BC where there was this big takedown of a complex that it was all pretty much earmarked, a whole bunch of fentanyl and stuff that was earmarked for the United States. But it's crazy. There's a lot that is made up here, and because that border is so easy to get across, it's he's not wrong about that. He's not wrong about that. Bismarcky says Adobe down almost 8%. Interesting. Paul says, is Trump ringing the bell for Thursday's open?
Yeah,
Is
he
he?
is. He
Really?
is doing it tomorrow. Yeah.
Okay. I did not know that. I did not know that. Well, now I do, but yeah, I'm not sure why it
It
don't.
will be his first time, basically. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Well, okay, fine. Um, yeah, I'd love to go to the TSX and ring the bell. I went to the TSX once, and you can't get in. Like quite literally, it's completely locked out to the public. I'm like, oh, seriously?
Oh, damn.
Because yeah, like because yeah, we went to Toronto once, and I looked it up on the map, and we
Hmm.
decided to walk there. So we spent like maybe 2.5 hours just walking through parts of Toronto to get down to the TSX, and
Is it downtown?
yeah, yeah, it's downtown, and it was closed. I was like, the only thing that was nice is I got to see the outside ticker on it. I'm like, okay, well, I can see that, but I thought I'd be able to get in and maybe see the floor or something, but no, there's nothing. It's
Closed to
completely
the
shut.
public. Oh, that's a sham.
I know, I know. So now, Kitty Cat, what are you doing now? Now she's
Have
down.
you have you looked at the final market close yet, or shall we do that now?
No, we can do that. Let's do that. All right,
Perfect
guys.
timing.
All right, so pretty much everything is in the green. So TSX up 0.6. Oops, I'm not on the TSX. I'm on Bitcoin. Here we go. Still up, but look at this. We're pretty much flat for the month right now. We finished quite literally a little tick above my blue line, but we'll still take it. It is still the green. The S&P 500 finishing in the green, although it did have a red close, like that last candle, heading down for sure. NASDAQ, the big winner of the day, up a full 1.85%. Dow Jones, they're down. These are all of your smaller companies, and they have not been doing good for the last little bit. Oh boy. Hopefully they can turn that around, but I have a feeling they're not going to at this point. Excuse me. Gold pretty much flat on the day, up 0.01. Silver up 0.10. And here's one piece of good news. Oil has been doing better since all of the stuff's been happening in Syria. That's been pushing oil prices up.
Ooh. Wow, it's
Um,
really bullish today.
yeah, yeah. Well,
2.6%.
although it ended, well, it hasn't ended. I mean, it's still
Oh, it's
half.
still trading.
But yeah. Oil trades 24/7, and it is heading down a little bit right now. Bitcoin looking strong as it has pumped its way back up. Will it get back to the all-time high? Well, here's the all-time high up here. Pretty much up here. It's close to 104,000. So we will have to see. Ethereum also having a pretty good day. Heat map wise, as you guys can see, let's get rid of the losers. Let's bring up our big winners. You can see Barrick Gold, Kinross, Tourmaline up there, a nice 3.11%. Gotta like that. EQB having a good day, up 1.75. So not too shabby, not too shabby. Let's go to the US here. Now the US, I'm going to get rid of our losers. Let's get rid of our losers here. All right. And you can see some of the big names up here, like Google up 546, Tesla's up.
Oh, wow, Tesla's killing it today.
Broadcom. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, no, this has been a good day for a lot of companies. And of course, crypto, it looks nice and green here. Not that much in the red. Everybody seems to be having a really good day over on the blockchain. So you got to like that. Yeah, that is that's our market for the day, guys. So, and guys, doesn't mean we're leaving them right away, but if you got your last minute questions, get them in. Whether they're for me, the market, or JJ, just throw your questions in, and we will get to answering them as soon as possible.
Wait, I don't know anything. That's the only way I can participate in the financial trivia next Friday.
Is that you don't know anything? Oh yeah.
I think that's the only reason I got voted in.
Yeah. No, the financial trivia coming up on the 20th. So I'll be asking you guys questions. It's going to be great. Yeah, I actually have to start working on those questions as soon as I get caught up. Amazingly enough, normally by the time this stream begins, I normally have the deep dive done. But but I'm still working on the editing. I still got more editing to do. That's actually the MicroStrategy, the one that Paul requested. So that one is still, I'm still working on it. So it probably won't get out to the channel members until tomorrow afternoon, because I'll probably be spending tomorrow morning finishing it up. So that's going to be fun. All right. Ron wants to know who will ask to hit the like button. Yeah, guys, hit
Smash the like button so you don't break your finger.
Exactly.
And Mary doesn't come and haunt you in your dreams.
And where is Mary? I'm not sure. I think, well, her lamb got out of the house, and it's a little lamb, so she's out looking for it to get it back. Anyway, I'm joking. I don't know where Mary is. We always feel her. We always feel a loss when she's not around, for sure.
Mm-hmm. She's looking for a lost lamb chops.
Yeah, yeah. Paul says, "Is MicroStrategy looking better after your deep dive?" It could be. It could be. It's hard to say. But maybe tomorrow will be. The end of this week maybe will be MicroStrategy's time to shine. So I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to that one dropping. So you guys will see that soon enough.
Yeah, it's too expensive right now.
Yeah. Holy cow, Kitten! What are you running into now? Missy says, can't disagree with Trump on the border issues. No, exactly. I mean, there's, like I said, there is issues with the border. But keep in mind, the issues that we have with the border were by design, because where Canada and the United States has been, when Donald Trump calls Canada the 51st, the 51st state, he's not that far off the mark. I mean, we're, I don't want to say that we're, a state by any way, shape, or form.
I think we're way too big just to be one state.
No, exactly. We would have to be multiple states. Ontario would be a state, but nonetheless, I think the point I'm making is not that we should be a state. The point I'm making is that because of the close relationship between Canada and the U.S., it sort of feels that way, because we've always had a very open border. Before, not that long ago, we used to be able to just with a simple driver's license, you could go across the border back and forth, no problems. There wasn't that much security, but things have changed. The world has changed, and we have to take the border seriously. And unfortunately, most of the things is that it's usually going from Canada into the U.S. It's not like we have a whole bunch of illegal Americans up here working. As far as I know, maybe there are some, but I've never heard of it as being a real problem. But yeah, I mean, the drugs, things like that. And I've heard stories of people from Mexico flying to Canada so they could enter through Canada because it was easier than going across the border down south. We don't need that reputation at all. So let's get it fixed. Let's just get it fixed, get it done, not have some tariffs, and sort of see how things go. Paul says, after Friday's close, QQQ might announce the MicroStrategy inclusion into the NASDAQ 100. Yeah,
it's exciting.
I'm hoping for it. I am hoping for it. Paul says, maybe you should wait to release. I did mention in that video, Paul, I did mention that chances are by the time you're watching it, it may have already happened, or it may be about to happen type thing. So, it is going to release on Friday, but, it won't be closed. It'll be 2 o'clock. So basically about 2 hours before we find out. Let's see. AVAV is one of the biggest drones, and after hitting highs has been hitting new lows each day. I don't know anything about them. Let's take a gander here. Let's see here. HA. All right. Or sorry, AVAV.
Yeah.
AVAV. All right. Aero Vermont. All right. Oh, look at them. Look at them. All right. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that drop you might be referring to. Oh, yeah. Look at this. They had a very good buildup and crash. Yeah, that's it's like somebody forgot to charge the drone's batteries and it went down. But yeah, no, it's interesting, interesting. Let me see here. They're definitely profitable. Everything looks pretty good there. Let's go in and take a gander. All right, let's see here. Oh, look at this. They've got very little debt. Like they've got almost no debt. Well, basically 6% debt to equity ratio. Yeah, I mean, they're fine. It looks like, they should rebound. They should rebound. I don't know. The thing is when you're looking at, and this is kind of the way I would approach it. Like if I'm going to do some deep diving or at least looking at this, for one, I want to know what the heck has happened. As check the news. Has anything happened to the company? Anything that could explain this that would lay the blame on the company? I would also look for similar companies to this and see if they've experienced the same thing, because maybe it's a sector thing if that's the case, kind of like with the healthcare companies. Um, but yeah, I mean, they were having a nice ride up and then bang. So, there's probably some kind of catalyst in here, and that's what I would want to find out. Like for example, if I was planning to invest in them, I wouldn't until I got an idea or got a grip on why this happened, because yeah, that's kind of an interesting thing. Missy says I still can't reply to people. I must have a setting on. Okay. Are you talking about like in YouTube? Like you can't reply to somebody? That's kind of weird that you can't reply. Um, I did. Yeah, maybe it's a setting. I've never heard of anybody having a problem with that. Um, I thought I could have swore that you replied to a couple of my comments. Well, you can probably maybe you can reply to my comments, but you can't reply to other people who replied. Is that kind of where you're going? I'm not sure. Oh dear. Oh.
So one factor driving the 5-day low on AVAV is that the earnings per share came in much lower than expected. It was supposed to be 68 cents per share, but it only came in at 47 cents per share. And their gross margin declined significantly from basically to 39% from the expected 42% year over year
Mhm.
in their latest Q2 projected 2025 earnings.
Yeah,
So there's
that
that.
makes sense. That makes sense. Exactly. And that's the thing. That would have been my next step, is to go take a look and see if they had an earnings report. So that's what we
They
get.
kind of missed it. So it's
That's
mixed. It's
what
pretty
we
mixed.
wait here
It's pretty
for
mixed
today.
signals right
It
now.
goes, gets research mode on. Research mode on.
Research mode.
Exactly. Which Bitcoin miner is the best to buy? It really depends. I've always, I mean, personally, I've always liked Hut 8, but I think right now, until Bitcoin gets a little bit higher, they're still kind of at that point where they're not. Well, we're getting close to where they're going to be making what they were making before the halvening. But yeah, I think Hut 8 I like. I know a lot of people like Mara as well. So, I think they're all going to do okay for the most part. Um, maybe just, of course, do your due diligence on each one. I don't have a particular one other than, because I don't invest in a lot of Bitcoin miners. But Hut 8, I used to actually swing trade them a bit. And they were pretty profitable for me when I did that. But then they did a reverse split and their price got too high to, that I was like, I gotta use twice as much money to make the same amount as before. It wasn't worth it at that point. So I stopped swing trading them. But yeah. All right, guys.
So actually, to add to that, Mara actually seems to be pretty impressive. Besides Hut 8, there's also Riot Platforms, RIOT. And then for alternatives, there's also TerraWolf. Wolf. Ticker symbol Wolf. There's that too.
Exactly. And Paul's opinion is forget the Bitcoin miners, just get MicroStrategy and you're all good.
There's that too.
So that's definitely another option as well. All right, guys.
So actually,
Right.
Yieldmax released Mara, so they're actually doing options on Mara, and that was released yesterday.
Oh, nice.
So that's actually pretty interesting.
Very cool. Very, very cool. All right, guys. We've been at this for an hour and a half.
Woo!
Um, we've had a great show. We had a great show for sure. Thank you, of course, to JJ for coming by
My
and
pleasures.
came in at the right time as I was trying to get rid of that stupid tickle in my throat. But well, happy about that. Guys, we will, of course, be back with, well, we'll have another live stream tomorrow in that financial blogmas as we continue towards the weekend. And let's look out and see what happens on Friday. We didn't earn a close on Friday, so I guess I
Oh,
won't see you guys in a big show until Sunday. Holy banana bread! But you'll see me every day. Like I said, it's financial blogmas. What can I say? And look out for that MicroStrategy video coming out Friday, later on Thursday for the channel members. Until then, guys, have a fantastic evening and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, everybody.
bye.